Tottenham 1, Chelsea 0 in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final. A rather unfortunate defeat in which a draw would probably have been the fairest result. Not exactly the most entertaining game, as VAR put Harry Kane onside when he was, at least in my opinion, offside before he scored from the spot to eventually score Spurs' winner, while Chelsea hit the woodwork twice and Andreas Christensen misses an absolute sitter. To find out everything about the game as it happened, be sure to watch all of this review. Hello there guys, and welcome back to 100% Chelsea for my review of the Tottenham 1, Chelsea 0 game, obviously in the first leg of the Carabao Cup of the League Cup semi-final, and it is a little bit disappointing. It wasn't a great game. It just generally, I just didn't enjoy watching that game all that much, if I'm going to be fully honest. It just wasn't that great. I mean, they scored from, I still think Harry Kane was offside, I'm convinced that he was. We hit the woodwork twice. Christensen missed that sitter. We had a few other chances, but we just didn't create enough big chances, in my opinion, except that Christensen one. But can I be honest with you guys? I'm going to the second leg. I'm flying over to England. I'm just happy that we're still in it, if I'm going to be honest. Like, at 1-0, we can easily turn that around at Stamford Bridge. So I'm not that disappointed. I'm annoyed, but I'm not that disappointed. I'm not, gutted that we lost 1-0. Yes, of course it would have been better if we drew or obviously won. But it's just 1-0. We can easily turn that around. It's not all that deep, in my opinion. I think we can turn it around at Stamford Bridge. Of course, this is the review. There will be fan cams, there will be a vlog, all sorts of content surrounding the game. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, be sure to obviously subscribe to 100% Chelsea. And also, let's see whether we can hit 500 or more likes on this video. That would be massively appreciated. So please do make sure to smash the like button down below. But now getting straight into the review and starting it off with the lineup. And there wasn't one major surprise in there. Otherwise, it was pretty much what I hoped for. But there was one big surprise in there. Obviously, 4-3-3 formation. Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal. Two fullbacks being Azpilicueta and Marcos Alonso. But the two centre-backs were Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen. David Luiz wasn't injured. He was on the bench. I mean, unless he was injured, then he still made the bench. I don't know. But, Christensen's out, which I certainly did not expect. The midfield then was Jorginho, N'Golo Kanté and Ross Barkley, while Mateo Kovacic was on the bench too, presumably not, being fully fit enough after being ill to start the game. And then the front three, it was Eden Hazard down the middle, with Hudson-Odoi starting on the right-hand side and Willian starting on the left. Obviously, I said Kovacic was on the bench, so were Olivier Giroud and Pedro, alongside, like I said, David Luiz, Zappacosta, Ampadu, and also Willy Caballero, obviously. And like I said, I was surprised about David Luiz not making the bench, and Alvaro Morata wasn't even involved. Reportedly, he picked up a hamstring injury in training, and also a knee issue against Forest on the weekend, but probably wouldn't have been involved either way, simply because whenever Hazard has started up front, it has always been Olivier Giroud on the bench, simply because he gives us, a more different option, if you will. Unless, obviously, Morata would have actually started had he not been injured. We obviously don't know that at this stage. But now getting into the game, we actually had the better start. But that better start actually only lasted 2 minutes because, after 2 minutes, Ross Barkley, as usual, gave the ball away by just being too slow in midfield. And Spurs played a ball over the top, simple ball over the top, to Heung-min Son, and Andreas Christensen only just about stopped him without fouling him. He did manage to solve it fairly, and no penalty was given or no foul was given, so that was good. But Barkley, what are you doing? It's ridiculous. And then a few minutes later, Kieran Trippier with a cross from the right, and then Harry Kane actually went for the overhead kick. Did get it on target, but it was actually a pretty comfortable save for Kepa. Our first shot on target also didn't take that long. 6 minutes in, Hudson-Odoi came in from the right into the box, but his shot went straight at the keeper and was, an easy save. And generally, the first 15 minutes were just pretty even, although we had more possession and, from what it looked like, more drive to attack. There was no chances for either team, to be honest, after those first 6 minutes. But at least I guess we weren't 2-0 down after 60 minutes like we were back in November. But then 25 minutes in, Spurs played an easy over-the-top ball to Harry Kane, who, well, according to VAR, stayed just about onside, although he looked very much offside to me. Not his feet. They drew the line on Azpilicueta's heel and Harry Kane's foot. But he was leaning forward. His shoulder was ahead of his foot. So if his foot was onside, was level with Azpilicueta's foot, clearly his shoulder was offside then. But VAR didn't notice that, apparently. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't put money on it, but I'm almost certain that he was offside. I'm almost certain. I mean, either way, though, Kane got into the box with the ball. Kepa came for it, had to come for it. I'm not going to put any blame on Kepa here. He did what he had to do. Collided with the striker, and a clear penalty was given. Although, I initially actually thought he did get a touch on the ball. I thought that in 3 more replays. In 1 replay, I didn't think he did. In 3 replays, I did. I'm not sure if he did get a touch on the ball. Should it be a penalty? I don't know. But obviously, he only got a yellow card because of 3-way punishment. But, the penalty was given, and Kane, as you'd expect, did convert to make it 1-0 from the spot in the 27th minute. And, the game, we started all right, but just slowed down significantly. I mean, Spurs set very deep once we got into their half, closing down all the spaces that we could have used, to obviously create something. But also our movement and passing just wasn't good enough, wasn't quick enough to create chances, even though they were sitting quite deep. And, especially the spaces between the front three, in my opinion, were way too big. Like, to have any sort of combination play going on, the wingers needed to be way tighter. Like, when I say I want Hazard to play down the middle, the wingers need to be tight to him so they can, play that quick pass in football. And the attacking midfielder, well, the left side, the centre midfielder needs to come forward as well. But that's never going to happen with Barkley, I guess. So you need Kovacic in there or Loftus-Cheek. Actually, Loftus-Cheek, I think, would suit that best if Hazard plays up front. I've said that before. But, Willian and Hudson-Odoi, they were just pushed way too wide. Like, Hazard was completely, isolated, had to do everything by himself, and he just didn't get any help anyone. So, that was all wrong. That just didn't work like that. Plus, we were extremely vulnerable to simple passes over the top. If Son gets in behind, with his pace, I can somewhat accept that. But it shouldn't happen for Kane, like it obviously happened for the goal, even if he was probably by an inch or two offside. But still, it shouldn't happen like that. I mean, I say we were extremely vulnerable to it early in the first half, because throughout the rest of the game, Spurs didn't really do much from those kind of situations, even though they tried. Then with 5 minutes to go in the first half, we finally had our first really good chance when Alonso, was found by Willian down the left, put in a decent cross into the box, and Kante, who had made a great run into the box from midfield, got on the end of the cross, but could only direct it against the outside of the post. Obviously, we'd hit the woodwork again, wouldn't we? I mean, we're already the team that has hit the woodwork the most in the Premier League. Obviously, this wasn't the Premier League, but still, same team. And then in the second minute of injury time, still in our first half, a Hudson-Odoi cross that took a deflection, was going in at the far post, and then the keeper just about got a bit of a hand on it and parried it right onto the post before Spurs managed to clear the ball just off the line. So again, hitting the woodwork. Hit the woodwork twice within, 7 minutes or something. And then we went into the break at 1-0 down. And generally, it just wasn't the most exciting game. The whole game wasn't, but the first half wasn't either. Like, with the post twice, like I said, once through luck, of course, like, Hudson-Odoi's cross was deflected. And Spurs, besides that goal, really only had that Kane overhead kick early on, which was a pretty easy save for Kepa. So we weren't awful, but we just still needed to improve for the second half and had to be quicker and tighter, in my opinion, like I said, for Hazard to, be better up front. And the second half, getting into that, we were a bit better to start off with. I mean, throughout the whole thing, even though we didn't create that much, especially at the start, we were better, passing quicker, moving better, and wingers a little bit tighter maybe. But the very start of the second half was the exact same as the first half. Ross Barkley being way too slow and almost giving a goal away. So that was great. This time it was just a poor pass that only happened because he was being too slow and took way too long to play a pass. And then Rudiger this time the one that to rescue him and rescue Chelsea from going 2-0 down. Shortly after that, Harry Kane went for goal with an effort from quite a bit of distance, maybe 30 yards or so. Forced a good save by Kepa as well to keep it out. Very strong hand and a very good strike as well, to be fair. But then Chelsea, we turned up. Like I said, we got a little bit better, especially at the start of the second half after that Kane chance, really. Passing was better, movement was better, like I said. And we had a few shots from outside the box, first by Hazard, although that shot went pretty much straight down the middle at the keeper. And then Kante actually with a really good shot, again from outside the box. They forced a good save that led to a corner from which we didn't do much. And actually, we just played a lot better as a team. Passing was quicker, we got into more dangerous areas, and, it was good. And then we just, under an hour gone, Andreas Christensen just had a huge chance to equalise. It was a huge chance. How he should do better. I'm not saying he has to score, but he should do better than what he did. Like, following a corner that was flicked on by Ross Barkley towards the far post, where the Dane came running in, and then he just proved again how little of a goal threat he actually does possess. He's shown that multiple times, both last season and I think once or twice this season as well. He just can't score goals. He's basically the anti-John Terry. Like, he just cannot score goals. Like, he went for that when he was left, like, wide of the left post, if you look at the goal. And he went for that with the outside of his right boot. How are you ever going to do anything like that? I mean, that's just not going to happen. He wasn't like right by the post. He was a few yards, next to it. So you don't go for that with your right foot while you're kind of planting it. I don't know what he was doing. Like, you just can't do that. Then Pedro came on to replace Willian in the 63rd minute, which had Hudson-Odoi move over to the left and the Spaniard slotting in on the right. And then the game went a lot more quiet. Like, Hudson-Odoi was really good, providing a lot of danger on that right, trying to dribble in, putting in some crosses. But we're kind of, missing Morata. Not even Giroud, because he never gets to the end of any cross because his movement is dead. But, kind of missing Morata there. Hazard, was trying to get on the end of crosses, but, Spurs, like I said, they set deep whenever we got into their half. So it was tricky, but Hudson-Odoi was good. He was quick. He was trying. I was happy with him on the left. Not so much anymore. I would say, just moved over to the left and it wasn't happening so much for him. You could also say he moved over to Alonso's side. I mean, both Hazard and, Hudson-Odoi had multiple frustrations with Alonso today. I get that he struggles to a little bit to play against Spurs with obviously their insults against him and their booing. but he just was dead. Like, he just wasn't great at all. And, the game just became even more quiet when Pedro came on. Not because Pedro came on, he actually worked really hard. But, it ended up just being a compilation of Hazard trying everything but getting really frustrated with the lack of help behind and in and around him, to be honest. Before then, in the 75th minute, finally, Ross Barkley was taken off and replaced by Mateo Kovacic, although, he barely did anything in the last 50 minutes. And only a few minutes later, Olivier Giroud then came on for Hudson-Odoi, who obviously, played in the last game as well, and obviously you're not going to take off Hazard. And in those last few minutes, those last 10, 50 minutes, we did try to get the equaliser. I mean, we did ever since going the goal down, but it's not like we lacked, effort. It's not like we didn't try, but it just wasn't happening. I mean, the odd cross that if only was hit a little bit better would have led to a huge chance, especially one cross by Alonso late on when Giroud was steaming towards the near post. And all it needed was a low cross with some pace on it that Giroud could basically hold his foot to. But Alonso instead blasted in a high cross. A high cross with loads of pace on it when Giroud was steaming towards the near post. Either he has zero game intelligence, and if you're going to say, well, he didn't see Giroud, well, then he has zero vision, because what is he doing? How can he blast that? Like, come on, just look at what you're doing. I mean, we had other shots that ended up, saved or blocked and ended up bouncing around in the box, and then we just couldn't get to those loose balls first. Then we had a handball that some refs might have given as a penalty, some didn't. VAR didn't even look at it. I don't know whether they did, not officially anyway. So, generally, well, like I said, I did think we tried, but there just was that tiny bit of intensity missing from our game. Obviously, the players have played a lot of games, even though it was a pretty different team to the team that started against Forest. It was still just lacking that tiny bit, and that was then full time at 1-0, and it was just a strange game. Very un-Spurs Chelsea-like. No fights, not much intensity, except in parts. We had some parts with more intensity, Spurs did as well, and it was more like individual players rather than whole team effort of being, having high intensity. And overall, a draw, I thought, would have been the fairest result, on the day. I think that would have been best. Obviously, we had the woodwork twice. Dominated the second half. I mean, Spurs literally didn't do anything in the second half ever since that, Kane chance early on. I mean, they had a few almost moments where we ended up defending them well and, they didn't have a chance, but that Kane shot from distance early on in the second half was their only chance in the second half, really, that I can think of right now anyway. And Christensen also should have made it 1-0 at the time, obviously, with his chance, so probably we deserve to win more than they did, but I still think a draw is probably the fairest result. But still, the more I think about it, the more I looked at it throughout the game, still obviously on Twitter and stuff, the more I think Harry Kane was offside. Like, especially when you see that picture where the line is drawn between Athby's foot and Kane's foot, and then you just see him leaning forward, and his shoulder is clearly ahead of his foot, so he was offside. So what is the point of VAR if we're not going to use it right? Like, what is the point of that? We need to figure out some technology to actually either have, cameras all along the pitch so you actually can look at it at the right angle and not from, a weird angle, from kind of above and at an angle. Because if we're not going to do that, offside decisions on video aren't any better than what the linesman is going to say. Actually, the linesman is going to have a much better view of it. Because that, to me, it was just wrong. Just the wrong decision. The penalty then happened and we should have just dealt with it and could have still scored. But we didn't. We just didn't create enough big chances, and Spurs also defended us well in the second half, I guess. Even though, we didn't play that well either. We weren't awful, but we weren't good. But Spurs weren't awful and weren't great either, but they just had that penalty. Basically, that was the difference today. I mean, Ross Barkley and Alonso were horrendous. So was William, but he just didn't look fit to me. He just didn't work that hard. And usually, you can blame William for a lot of things, but he just didn't work hard. For the first few minutes, I thought he was all right. I had the one where he shoved Trippier over and then just went on a run. But it's just stopped. To me, it looked like he wasn't fit. Some might criticise him for just not trying today, but I thought he just didn't look fit. Hazard tried everything by himself, and Hudson-Odoi proved that arguably he shouldn't just be considered on the same level as William and Pedro by Sarri, as he said in his press conference yesterday, but probably he should actually be, or maybe at least, he should actually be considered ahead of them. Because, he was a lot better than them today, at least. But, to be fair, obviously both of them were injured and came back from injury, possibly slightly rushed back for the game. So, you still have to take that into consideration. But Hudson-Odoi today was good, and I hope, with obviously the threat of Bayern Munich looming, I hope that we're just playing more and that will convince him to sign a new deal. That one's slightly off topic. Getting back to the game, I almost don't want to say it, but I thought we really could have done with Morata today. I mean, I wanted Hazard down the middle. I said that pre-game, and I will stick by that. But we just didn't play that how I wanted us to. We just didn't play that how I think Hazard down the middle works. We played it completely different to how we did it against City, how we did it against Brighton, how we did it against Watford, and one other game we did it in. We just didn't play it like that today, and it was just strange. Like, it didn't work. It was way too far spread apart, in attack. And when Hudson-Odoi plays on the right, because I actually liked him better on the right again today, like I did against Forest. He looks better to me on the right. People say he's better on the left. I actually think he's better on the right at the moment anyway. But when he plays on the right, Morata up front is a major threat. Like, the way Hudson-Odoi crosses the ball and the way Morata moves in the box, he's a major threat. Olivier Giroud simply is not. Olivier Giroud, he might be tall, but he's not a threat in the air. He simply isn't. Like, he's strong at holding the ball up in the air, but he's not a threat at, you know, scoring in the air. He's just not. He doesn't time his jumps right ever. Like, simply ever. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, well, it's annoying to lose. Like I said in the beginning, at 1-0, you know, the 1-0 defeat in the first leg, everything is still possible for the second leg, and I'm gonna be there. So lads, get yourselves together and turn this around, because I'd absolutely love to beat Spurs. So yeah, to be honest, that's really it for me. Leave me all of your thoughts on the game down in the comment section below. I think we can all agree that Hudson-Odoi was good. I think we can all agree that Hazard tried everything by himself. I think we can all agree that Alonso and Barkley were horrendous. But if you have any other thoughts on the game, leave them down in the comment section below. Like I said in the beginning, let's see whether we can hit 500 or more likes on this video. That would be massively appreciated. So please do make sure to smash that like button down below. Of course, don't forget to check out my social media, which is Loud1507 on both Instagram and Twitter, as you can see over here. And like I said earlier, and also the links to both of them are down in the description below. So if you could follow me over there, I would massively appreciate that. And of course, this is YouTube, so if you haven't already, please do make sure to subscribe to 100% Chelsea if you haven't already. And of course, don't forget to hit the notification bell button as well to obviously choose to be notified about all uploads so you don't miss any of the future videos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. We'll beat them in the second leg, and I'll see you next time.